I&R meeting for the month of June, and as always, we'll start with an invocation and a pledge of allegiance, and if we could all stand, please. Let us pray. Praise God. Heavenly Father, we're thankful for the opportunity to gather here today. Encourage our hearts and uplift us and keep thy hand upon all of us. Direct us and guide us according to thy will, through and by thy word and thy spirit. Help us, O Lord, so that we might be able to continue to help others. Yes, O Lord, through our work here. And in all things, we ask in Christ's name. Amen. Amen. Attention to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice to all. Thank you very much. We have one, for public input, Miss Becky Warren. And if you'll come forward to the microphone, please, and if you'll state your name and your subject, you have 5 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Good morning, David. How are you? My name's Becky Warren. I live at 1435 Shoreline Drive in Harbortown subdivision in Myrtle Beach, and I am here representing our neighborhood because we're concerned about short-term rentals. We as a community are very concerned about these short-term rentals in our peaceful neighborhood. It affects, we are an SF10 according to the county records. There are approximately 27 SF10 neighborhoods in Horry County, and let me see, 18 are developed, which includes Harbortown. So that might be a way to go to list that no short-term rentals could be in an SF10, or you could make it an SF10 east of the waterway. Either way, our covenants and restrictions were put in place by the developer of Harbortown, Mr. Egerton Burroughs, in the late 1970s and early 80s. And he's put in our covenants and restrictions to maintain the peace and tranquility and sense of community in our neighborhood, which we would like to continue to do, and short-term rentals are affecting those 3 things. There are currently 3 homes doing vacation rental by owner or Airbnbs with a host in Harbortown. I have the addresses listed if you're interested later. We believe there is more to come in the county, in our community, if you don't put a stop to it, and you are the ones who can stop it. There are developers buying up homes in Harbortown that are for sale, and they are turning them into Airbnbs. We've had multiple incidents where police have had to be called due to disturbing the peace, blocking our streets because the houses don't have enough parking for the number of people that are renting the houses. Not to mention the litter in our neighborhood, people wandering the neighborhood, oddly looking in people's garages like they're casing out the neighborhood, which is a little scary to the residents who live there. And the list goes on, and I'm not going to waste my less than 5 minutes now on that. Short-term renters don't care about the neighborhood they're renting in, or what they do, or how it affects the long-term residents who have invested their lives and money in their home and community. We even had someone who was training an attack dog off leash in the yard of the Airbnb, which is right across the street from me, and my granddaughter was there, so that was a little scary that day. The county has an ordinance that if property is rented out over 72 days of the year, then the short-term rentals have to pay a 3% transient accommodations fee to the county. But the people who own the Airbnbs are on their honor to do that. There is no way to enforce that. So that's the frustrating part for me, along with other things. But I thought about a resolution, because I don't want to stand up here and complain without a resolution. If you can't do anything to enforce an ordinance to stop the Airbnbs and vacation rental by owners, then what you could do is make them pay an enormously high business license to the county, a higher accommodation tax to operate, and a special tax for being in a neighborhood subdivision. There's a lot of ordinances on the books here that you don't have any way to enforce them. That everybody's hands are tied. Planning and zoning's hands are tied, code enforcement's hands are tied, the police hands are tied. And then they go to judges with planning and zoning, and the judge gives them another month to, okay, well, you try to fix that. And then there's no fines. There, you know, even if the fines are there, they're small fines. So that's the only thing I could think of that in order to enforce and maybe slow it down and stop it is hit them in the pocketbook. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for your attention and for listening. I really appreciate it. And I sincerely, sincerely hope that you find a way to stop this, because it does affect long-term neighborhoods like Harbortown and other neighborhoods like us that don't want this in our communities. They are not part of the community. They come in and affect the neighborhood in a negative way. And it's also affecting first-time home buyers that are trying to buy a home and get started in Horry County, who may be a small business owner, because you know, you've got these big corporations coming in. And we know for a fact there are 3 more homes for sale, and there's a big developer looking at them because he wants to do Airbnbs. So please help us in protecting our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. In fact, that's going to be one of our discussion items today. So moving right along, that'll close public input. We need a motion to review and approval of agenda contents. Any additions, subtractions?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and approval of the minutes of our last meeting in April.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, aye. All righty, moving along to discussion items. Stormwater CIP update, Mr. Brandon Wagner, Stormwater Director. Morning.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, committee members. Today I'm here to talk about the capital improvement program for stormwater and some of the updates on that side. But first I wanted to highlight some of the work from our stormwater staff. These stats are just for the month of April. So we've cleaned 39 miles of ditches, installed 400 foot of storm drain pipe, completed 120 work orders. That ranges anything from repairing sinkholes, cleaning out a pipe, tearing down beaver dams, that type of thing. Responded to 124 service requests, completed 340 construction inspections, reviewed 460 engineering plan submittals, received 51 easements to clean more ditches across the county. In partnership with CCU, we collected and analyzed 480 water quality samples across 21 locations. And finally, we added 70 manufactured wire reef oyster baskets to the Murrells Inlet Reef. According to SCDNR, this is the largest man-made oyster reef in South Carolina with over 400 or 500 baskets now. So moving into the capital improvement projects, first we have Hemingway Chapel. This project consisted of installing 4 48-inch culverts under Hemingway Chapel Road. Previously there was one 48-inch pipe there. We increased the capacity under that road 250%. Reducing the flood elevations by 1.5 feet at that crossing in the 100-year storm. This reduced flooding impacts to the roadway, 12 homes, and 25 accessory structures. So anytime we do a capital improvement project, it includes a hydraulic analysis. In that hydraulic analysis, we size the infrastructure that's going in, but we also do a downstream analysis to make sure we're not inducing flooding on any other property owners in the area. And we also create flood inundation maps that helps us to quantify the flood relief that's being provided to the local homeowners. That project cost $282,000, but it had a RIA grants, Rural Infrastructure Authority, that covered 85% of that project. So the cost to Horry County was about $50,000. We have a short video to play. All right, the next project up is Jones Road. It's in the Longs area near Wampee Baptist Church. This project was completed in May of this year, just a few weeks ago. For this one, there was a 200% increase in flow capacity, reducing the flood elevations near Jones Road by 2 feet in the 100-year storm. So this reduced flooding impacts to 5 homes as well as a local church, several accessory structures, and prevented the road from overtopping for up to the 100-year storm. Project cost for this one was $635,000. It was also funded through a RIA grant that covered 85% of it, so Horry County's share was $95,000. And a video for that one too, Thomas. Okay, next up is 57th Place. This project consisted of adding 2 8-foot by 4-foot box culverts. This project's located in Longs area as well, on Snowberry Drive. There was a 1-foot reduction in the 100-year flood elevation for this one. For this project, there was no structures identified as flooding in this area, but the roadway went underwater in 2 separate locations, and the community members were not able to get in and out during severe rainfall events or severe flood events without driving through the floodwater. So obviously that's an emergency access issue. With this project now, it's protected up to the 100-year storm event. This one cost $361,000, but again, this one was grant funded through RIA, so we paid 15% or $54,000. Thomas? Okay, next up, Highway 9 project, and Longs as well, near Highway 57. This project involved installing 2 54-inch culverts under Highway 9 for flood relief. This project involved a lot of traffic control, so we had to build a temporary road in Highway 9, shift traffic around several times, and a lot of the work had to be completed at night. This one had a 1.5-foot flood reduction for just the 25-year storm event, reducing flooding impacts to 5 homes and also protecting a critical evacuation route. This project cost $3.1 million, but was also funded with a RIA grant, so they covered 85%, with Horry County's share being $450,000 roughly. Play that one.
That one we really needed.
All of them we need to do.
This one.
So all the videos you just watched, these aren't old. All these were completed within the last couple of months. The last project I wanted to highlight is McCormick Road. This is along Sockasty Creek. We are kicking this project off here in just a few weeks. It involves installing two 10x8 box culverts under McCormick Road. It's going to reduce the flood elevations according to the hydraulic analysis by 1 foot in the 100-year storm event. And this is an area where inches matter. That 1 foot is anticipated to reduce flooding for 35 homes or more and reduce even more homes than that from the FEMA flood zone. This project cost $1.5 million, but it is 100% funded through grants and through funding provided through the state budget. So altogether, these 5 projects we just talked about cost $5.5 million, but grants covered $4.8 million of that. So Horry County funds contributed 13% of all those costs, or roughly $700,000. And I really need to stop here and thanks Beth Tranner and the community development team. Without their help, funding for these grants would not be possible, and we'd not get to move through these projects as quickly as we have. Altogether, these projects are expected to reduce flooding impacts for 50 homes, a church, and several public roadways. With that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions?
Yes, thank you. Good job out there. Very good job.
Good job. Thank you. Making some headway with stormwater and stuff. We used to couldn't afford this stuff, man. People complain and stuff, but we've been blessed, and we're starting to afford things, and we're starting to do some things. With yourself. All righty. Next up, Parks and Recs Department overview, Director Mr. Ray Dunham.
Mr. Chairman, before he gets started, I want to give you some context. We asked, Ray and I have been talking about this for a couple of years now, about setting the vision for Parks and Recreation going forward. So they're going to kind of tell you today what services they do today. And then at the next meeting, I think we're going to, October, I'm sorry. So at the October meeting, we're going to bring back a vision plan for you and the committee to review, and then send that on to council with your recommendations included. So,
That sounds good.
thank you.
Well, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit of the highlights and some of the things that Park and Recreation does. I'm Ray Dunham, and with me I have Nicole Herrera, Deputy Director. So we will be going through a little bit of the highlights and some updates here regarding the department. So just an overview of some of our staff. We have 48 full-time staff. Of that full-time staff, 3 are in leadership, 2 are what we would consider administration, 19 is in the recreation division, and 24 is in the parks division. We have 70 part-time staff, so of that, 21 front desk staff, 7 athletic assistants, 14 program assistants, 8 trades workers, bus drivers in the summer for our summer camp. We have 3 of those. And in summer camp, we have 17. Volunteers, we're going to get to volunteers in a few more slides. So we're going to come back to that because we couldn't do a lot of what we do without volunteers. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Just recapping, we do have 6 different recreation centers that we're currently throughout the county, with 2 more on the way. So we currently have Aner and Greensea. So Aner and Greensea are under construction, or they're not under construction, but they're on their way being developed and permitting and getting very close. And then continuing to work on Dolores. Of our staffing, when we look at the recreation facilities and the large ones such as Carolina Forest, North Strand, and South Strand, we do that with 3 full-time employees running those centers. So we have 1 district supervisor, 2 coordinators at each of those centers. Our part-time staff, we have 4 that work the front desk. And then you'll notice with our after-school and summer camp program, we're anywhere between 6 and 8 staff at those centers. And then we do a lot of athletics programming. Most of those have 2, except for Aner that just is not open yet. But we do a lot of athletic programming. They currently have 1. When we look at the community centers, we have 1 full-time person at each community center and 3 front desk staff. And at James R. Frazier, we have 3 after-school and summer camp staff. A little bit of trivia here, and just to recap, we cover 1,200 square miles of the county. We have approximately 700 acres of parks, which is a lot of parks, 33 parks, 27 boat landings, 37 infields, we'll come back to that in just a minute, 14 multi-purpose fields, 23 playgrounds, and 6 buildings, which we've previously talked about, with more coming. Of that, this is our parks crew, and if you look at the infield, you just go to the upper left-hand corner, we have 1 supervisor and 3 trades workers. So we have 4 staff, I'm trying to figure out how to go backwards here, 4 staff for 37 infields. So we do a lot with a little. Those guys really work their butts off, and we're very proud of them. We have our cut and clean crew, 1 supervisor, 5 trades workers, regional trades workers, 1 supervisor, and 6 trades workers, and our special projects crew, 1 supervisor and 4 trades workers. So when you look at the entire park system between 33 parks, 27 boat landings, and 37 infields, as well as the 14 multi-purpose fields in the playgrounds, there's a lot to cover, and those trades workers were shown that maintained the buildings. They were shown in the staffing at the buildings. And I'm going to let Nicole talk for just a few minutes and bring us up to date on the volunteers.
Hello. Thank you for allowing us to be here and kind of brag on what we do as a department. So the numbers that I'm going to speak about are January 1, 2025 to December 31st, 2025. So within that, we have 532 current volunteers. Those individuals maintain Vereen Memorial Gardens. All of our athletic teams, bike and run park, as well as come in and do some of our summer camps that are athletic driven. So the far right picture, that is the coastal coach, an assistant coach for coming in to do a basketball camp. With that, some of the responsibilities that we do on the recreation side, we do pickleball, of course, after school care, summer camp, community programs, the 5K race series, athletics, including t-ball, soccer, volleyball, cheerleading, flag, football, and tackle, basketball, building and field rentals, which we'll get to in a little bit, as well as therapeutic recreation. On our park side, those guys, again, work so hard. Cut grass, weed and edge, fencing, site grading, dragging the infield, raking the areas, clean the bathrooms, empty the trash, and just do all of the amazing things that they do. Our administration and leadership side, most of that is employee management, invoices, requisitions, purchase orders, all of those really fun things that we get to do. Some of our rentals, again, this is January 1 through December 31st, 437 baseball field rentals, 92 multi-purpose field rentals, 695 multi-purpose room rentals. So those are HOAs, meeting rooms, things like that. 209 exercise room rentals, 201 gym rentals, 217 shelter rentals, and 43 other rentals. So those are things like our gazebos or the fishing pier at Vereen Memorial Garden. The economic impact from January 1 to December 31st is $2.4 million. And that is international fields there. So we don't necessarily go after economic impact, but we get the overflow from the city of Myrtle Beach, city of North Myrtle Beach. When there's overflow for those tournaments, they come to our facilities. Some more programs that we do. We've had 9,866 participants. Those are involved in our summer camp, after school, line dancing, music in the park, gentle yoga, beyond the bell, things like that. In our race series last year, we had 155 at the Laura Spalgoff, 73 of those being Horry County employees, 235 at the Robbie Jordan Memorial, 139 of those being Horry County employees, 303 at the Blue Crab, 111 of those being Horry County employees, and 302 at the Peer-to-Peer, 92 of those being Horry County employees. Additionally, with our athletics, we had 4,320 participants. Those were in our soccer, tackle football, athletic camps, basketball, cheerleading, flag football, t-ball, and volleyball. Sponsorships, we brought in $15,000 in revenue, and 15 local businesses invest in our programs and activities. We are looking to actively increase that every year, but that is what we did last year. And I will turn it back over to Ray. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Just wanted to highlight a few things here with some grants. And again, a shout out to Beth Tranter for helping us. So the last couple of years, we've had a number of different grants that we've applied to through the state. Most of these are PARD-related grants. These are the actual grant monies that we received for those, not the total project money. So we've matched those funds in some way to get the projects completed. But Green Sea Floyd Playground, that is going to be in the future, but we do have a $78,000 grant. $5 million for Sockasty. Sockasty Yacht Basin was $29. Garden City Playground, we recently received that grant. That's an $84,000 grant. So this just gives you an idea of some of the grant money that we received. Same thing with South Strand Recreation Center for some outdoor bathrooms, since we are adding some pickleball courts there. So we're going to need a bathroom. We had an $84,000 grant for that. So just wanted to share a little bit of that success with being able to get grant money and be able to leverage that for our projects. Just a quick couple of project updates, and I did not go into all the projects because we have a lengthy list, but the ones that are coming quickly and in the very near future. And this is Carolina Forest Playground. It is under construction. We are about 6 weeks away, estimated time from that opening. South Strand Pickleball Courts, that is an aerial view that was taken about a week ago. There's some fence line work that needs to be done. Fence needs to be moved out a little bit. That should be completed in the next 2 weeks. And then Sockasty Recreation Park with adding the fields, pickleball courts, futsal courts, and parking down there. That'll be completed at some point in the fall. So these are the big pictures that are in the very imminent future of being completed for us. And then lastly, we always have a role in emergency operations. And I know that since I've been here, we've used the recreation centers as shelter for flooding, fires, and tornadoes. So we do have a role in the emergency operations, and the staff is amazing and can kick in on a moment's notice when those emergency happens, and we're here to certainly help the community. And with that being said, we thank you for all of your support, and we thank the volunteers and community and administration as well. So be happy to field any questions.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. It's more of an idea, not a question. You don't have to answer it. You had mentioned North Myrtle Beach. They have a lot of competition going on with their fields in Myrtle Beach. Would it help us to try and get in that business, but not through y'all? You know, we talked about privatizing all of our recreation, and that just didn't seem to be too smart. But maybe bring in some people to compete, and then maybe we can afford to build more fields and more. You know, it's pickleball is going to be a big competition thing for elderlies. I'm not there yet, but is that an idea that maybe we could look at in the future? I mean, to compete a little bit, because they are overfilled fields. When you go to those events in North Myrtle Beach and Myrtle Beach, you can't even find a parking place, and they got huge parking lots. Maybe look at that someday, and bring them in as another level of our, operation, not running our recreation farm, but maybe combined with it.
I would think that it's certainly an item that should be discussed and be looked into as we look at our future and the vision for the department. The county is looking, I think, a little bit more at getting economic impact. When you look at the recent swimming pool, the rural civic center. So I do think it's an opportunity and something that we should discuss and consider as we develop that future vision for the department.
And maybe we could get Barry to look at trying to get more volunteers to run the county like y'all do. They do
They won't
good.
take the heat. I would.
They do real good with those volunteers.
Yes, sir, Mark.
I just, again, thank y'all for what you do. Y'all are doing great things, and it's really eye-opening when you see the list of parks and landings, and I knew it was a lot, but just seeing it in front of you, I didn't realize quite as much as it is. And you did mention the Lois Rec Center, so just, if anyone's listening, I just want everyone to know we are actively searching and trying to identify property to build that now, so we've not given up on it, we're still working hard, but thank y'all for what you do, you're doing a lot of good things.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good stuff, man, good stuff. Alrighty, moving on to item C, acknowledgement of the Horry County Historic Preservation Commission for its continued achievement and maintenance. Good morning, Rod.
Good morning. Thank you so much, and I'd like to go over our certified local government program. It's a part of our Historic Preservation Commission, and as you see on the screen, the date we got certified was in 1987. So this is one of the oldest program that Historic Preservation Commission got into. And when I say CLG, it's a status and designation given by National Park Service in collaboration with the State Historic Preservation Office. So to maintain that status, staff has to do annual reporting every year, and then they have to present it to the State Historic Preservation Office, and state did a review for the 5 years, fiscal year 21 to 2025, and they see all the projects we did as a part of Historic Preservation Commission and all the grants we received. And again, I would like to thank Beth Tranter again with her help with these projects. But being a CLG status entity, we get access to federal government for grants, and we did a couple of projects for the National Register nominations, which is Atlantic Beach Historic District. It's on the National Register now. And then we did a Little River Area Historic Resource Survey. So these are few programs that we did. And I would like to introduce our chair, Mr. Ben Burrows, who's here today, and he'll give you a small overview of our Preservation Commission. Ben.
Thank you, Raj.
Morning, me.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
I appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to speak briefly to y'all this morning. I want to speak on behalf of all the members of the Historic Preservation Commission and say that we are thoroughly thrilled with our successful evaluation in this status again this year. And as Raj said, I think it was 1987, which is a pretty good record. Particularly proud that Horry County is the only county that has this status. The rest of them are municipalities.
Great.
By having this, we have a partnership with the State Department of Archives and History and other agencies within the state, and it helps us when we're working on preservation to have that partnership. Some of our duties are to designate and protect historic properties within Horry County. We have a local design review role for those properties. And we keep a local inventory of historical properties so that when development comes, it's flagged. And, you know, there's an awareness, and it's a proactive. Rather than waiting until something is destroyed, we know ahead of time that that's a significant spot, and the developer is told about that. Also, members of this commission are involved in other historic movements within the county. And one is the 200 Horry 250, which is a part of the SC 250, which is a part of the USA 250. And as the official committee for that, which is basically the Horry County Historical Society, we work with them closely on this, and we are planning events for the next 8 years that deal with the American Revolution. And you would be surprised when we tell y'all all the things that took place in what is now Horry County. Our goal is to promote and celebrate these things as the anniversaries roll around. So up through 2033, you'll be seeing announcements that relate to the 250th anniversary of our country. So again, I just want to thank you for your support, and on behalf of the commission, we're all very happy. It makes it so much easier to do our job when we have your backing. And I want to thank Raj and his staff for all the help that they do, because anytime we need them, they're there to help us and make it easier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Robert. If you want to read a very interesting book, look up Defiant Carolinians by Ted Gregg, which is a book about the pre and the starting revolution here inside of Horry County. It's a very, very good book. Very good history here. So we got a lot of history here. We appreciate y'all's efforts and work, okay? Moving along, going to discussion item D, short-term rental regulations. Big topic. Ms. Heather Day.
Thank you. Good morning. Short-term rental regulations, by definition, is the rental of residential property for short durations, typically less than 30 days via platforms like Airbnb and Vrbo, as mentioned earlier. Why it matters: tourism, neighborhood impacts, residential quality of life, and growth pressures. Some things that we want to look into, policy considerations and regulatory options, are registration, permit framework, occupancy, parking, local contact, and complaints. We have a couple of our peer communities listed above, and that's Conway. They regulate through zoning. North Myrtle Beach regulates through permits, and Myrtle Beach regulates through zoning. Now I'll open the floor for discussion. If there are any questions, thoughts on this topic, I'd be interested to hear.
Okay. Mark?
What are your thoughts on regulate, just amendments to our zoning districts, some of our residential districts?
Well, there are multiple ways that we could regulate it, and we could do like a tier where we do minimum enforcement, and that would require a couple of additional staff. Then we could look at high enforcement, where we regulate through a variety of zoning districts, not allow it in residential, or push it to a certain zoning district, if you will. It's just kind of the direction that we want to go, and how we can enforce it, which way you would like to.
If we amended the zoning district, would it just say short-term, or how would you, I mean, you can rent, how do you identify the ones that are doing this? How do you regulate that side of it? We're just renting for 15 days or a week at a time versus maybe a 6-month or a 12-month.
Well, hopefully with that, we would have to develop an entire program where they would have to register through business license, get a business license, and then come through us for zoning compliance to ensure that they are meeting the intent of the district and where we allow, and that they're also following additional regulations like parking, trash, having a local contact that we can always reach 24/7, so that if there is an issue or a complaint, that we could directly address it.
Yeah, I can see where short-term rentals in these subdivisions are a problem. HOAs typically, don't they typically try to regulate that as well, or?
I'm not really sure. Maybe in recent years they probably have been a little more involved, as that's something that they would want to regulate.
Al?
Go ahead, Mike.
Most of, if not all, of the newer developments are being built now, and in the past half a dozen years or so, they put in stipulations in their covenants that you can't do short-term rentals. So the problem that we have moving forward is not that these newer developments have been built in the last 5 or 6 years, or that are being built now. A lot of it is developments that are 25, 30 years older, that people have lived there for years, and now they're starting to have to deal with this with the advent of Airbnb and VRBO. But it's not the newer ones, it's the older ones that I think we're having to look at. So you look at this, it's not the whole county that's a problem. There are specific areas, and it tends to be, I think, the older developments where they never put anything in place.
Yeah.
Is North Myrtle Beach and Myrtle Beach dealing with this issue right now in their areas, and they're coming up with some plans I've seen on the news?
I think kind of everyone, with high tourism and as a high tourism economy as we are, it is something that we're all kind of facing together.
I think what we need to do is come up with a solution, because just like these people that spoke, they've got, that's a really old neighborhood, and it's on the waterway, so I guess it makes a perfect Airbnb, you know. And I got a phone call or an email, one in Myrtle Beach. They had a couple dozen people staying in one condo, and you know, what do? You know, I suggested send the fire marshal out there, because you know, it's a mess.
Yes.
So we do need to address this. So I guess our question is, you know, we don't have questions. We just need to go ahead and start looking for.
We need some options from staff.
Yeah, we need some options and get an answer to this problem. I see they're lined up. That's good. Okay.
So do y'all have any suggestions from your staff? Stevie?
We'll look further into it, and I guess today was just to see, check the temperature of the room to see what y'all were looking at possibly doing. This will be probably a huge undertaking for the counties to regulate this. I've got actually used to be one of our employees that's now the assistant zoning administrator at the city of North Myrtle Beach that I spoke with, and he deals a lot with this since he's gone there, and it's even with what they do, he says it's very difficult just to police it, for lack of a better term. You know, when you get the complaint and you go out, a lot of times what had occurred has already taken place, and you know, it took place on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We get there on Monday morning and everybody's gone. So it would be we'd have to have staff who would be, policing this if it would be through planning and zoning. All those are questions that we can get more direct and try to answer better. As far as and I think Tommy will probably speak to this, but as far as the fire marshal and things like that, we wouldn't be able to regulate it that way, because as far as a single-family residential structure, we don't have anything as far as fire that limits the number of people that can be in a single-family residential structure.
This was in a condo complex,
right?
And I'm sure they have an occupancy rating.
Probably there, yes, sir. But most of these take place in these single-family homes that, you know, once upon a time probably did have a single-family, was a single-family home, and it's just not anymore. They've, bought it for the beach house, and they, rent it out when they're not using it, type thing.
Well, it definitely needs to be looked into without a shadow of a doubt.
When folks call with these problems saying that, hey, we've got 2 or 3 houses now that popped up in our neighborhood, possibly what we might do is if we can do this legal-wise, is send them a document that says, first thing we'd recommend is taking your HOA, if you don't have one, form one, and then vote it in that you can't do short-term rentals, and explain to them, here's the steps you would need to do, because a lot of these people don't know this stuff, and say, here's what you should do, and so they help themselves. And if they adopt that, then they essentially fix their own problem, keeping us from,
Yes, so that would definitely help. Like you had mentioned earlier, a lot of the newer subdivisions have those regulations in place. The older subdivisions, either if they did, the board may not be active anymore, and they don't really have an enforcement mechanism, and they kind of look to the county to help them enforce some of their rules a lot of times. But
we explain to them how to go about reinstituting that, and just put in a bullet point piece of paper. Here's the action steps, and then hopefully they'll help themselves and do that.
I don't know how overlays work, but can you do certain sections of the town, like, of course, and have because you can't change the zoning. I mean, that would kill everybody just for one problem. But can you do overlays or something like that that might?
I would think that you could if you have a specific area of the county that was more of a problem than, other areas of the county. Closer to the beach area, you would think would be more of an issue with this, and you could do overlays of that nature. But then if you have these same issues, more in the western part of the county, possibly, it wouldn't really help there. But yes, we could look at doing overlays also and not incorporating this into the whole entire county at one time.
I don't really see, overlays may not be bad. I don't see how we could tackle the entire county. I think the easiest way to start would probably be making amendments to our residential zoning districts, and then how we regulate and enforce them. I don't know, but we can make a start maybe.
We'll definitely look more in depth in how to do some of that.
Move, I think.
The future is not too bad to correct, but the past is hard to re-implement new rules.
Yes, sir.
What about enforcement and stuff? How can we enforce it, or what would we need to enforce it at times?
Stevie's correct. There's no building code that handles occupancy rental, so you don't have any state protection as any state law telling you how to give us an enforcement mechanism to do it. A multifamily residential structure does not have an occupancy load. Only assembly structures do. And they're 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they're made up of bars, restaurants, churches, those type places. Other than that, there is no occupancy given. So for us we cannot go into any if somebody calls us and says there's 12 people staying in that home, or 12 people staying in a condo unit, there's nothing saying that we can do it by our state law in the fire code or in the building code. So anything you would do would have to go under guise of talking legal to make sure we don't supersede or do anything that the state code does not already do, or it's not there, it's silent on. So there's nothing we can do on that far as now. You go into a church or a bar or a restaurant, yes, we established that. But other than that, there's nothing on a home. And how you enforce that, I don't know. I don't know what we would do. It would have to strictly be done by ordinance. And you would have to have a staff of significant size to monitor this and keep up with the complaints. We get them now all the time. And to have somebody go out and maintain that, it's going to be a major undertaking. But there's nothing in the state fire code or building code that would give you any guidance or give you an authority that you would already have, as we do with other fire and building codes.
So if we were to amend our current zoning, we're still going to have to look into how to enforce it, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And Heather may want to share some of the numbers that she's looked at as far as depending on what level we decide to do this at, the number of employees it would possibly take to be able to do that.
As I mentioned earlier, depending on the level of regulation that we want to enforce. So a very low level, we would require probably 1 to 3 additional staff. We would be an administrative personnel and then a couple of inspectors. Now, if we wanted to increase that, where we're a little more vigilant and we're not allowing it and we're enforcing it, we're going to go between 3 to 5. Now, if we want to go high level and really not allow this, it's going to require at least 5 to 8 additional staff, and that's a minimum number. That's, a few inspectors, that's administrative staff, that's staff to be able to handle the complaints coming in and be able to address them and enforce it.
And remember, and David can speak to this if you want, Jordan, residential property, it's very tough to go on to. A commercial structure, I have a lot of rights to enter that building at any given time. Residential property is different. So I would be very careful, and I think David and his team would have to be a part of any conversation we have. What legal rights do we go on somebody's property, knock on the door, say, I need to go in and count how many people are here, or what are you doing? So that to me is where I think we get tricky, because once you say we're going to enforce it, then we're going to be on the hook for it. But what that is and how we can actually do that legally would be my biggest concern going on somebody's residential property. Because a condo unit, same as a house, it's residential property. I have to do a lot to get on somebody's property that method through the court systems. Guidance through David. Commercial properties, that the laws are already established for. I don't have that. I have that authority already. Residential property, I will not have that. So I think any conversation you have, we would definitely have to see what our legal rights are to this. Because I don't know if there's precedent anywhere else. I don't know of anywhere else. These people, these municipalities and governments that do that, I don't know exactly how they're doing. And it's very hard to enforce, as Stevie spoke to, as far as the gentleman who used to work with us.
Mr. Chairman, it seems like the committee is interested in entertaining some further discussion on this. We'll bring you back some recommendations at a future meeting. As we get into a development process for this, we'll better know when that might be. It won't be at the next meeting, maybe the following. That we can bring some things back to you for your consideration, if that's okay.
Look into all the parking too, man. Regulated parking around the place, something. All right, sir. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Miss Ashley's reminding me when the committee speaks and such, please activate your microphone to where they'll be able to pick it up and record it. All righty. Good stuff. I'm moving right along.
I'm right back. Yes, sir.
Okay. Take it away.
Okay. So this is a request for Carolina Forest Middle of the Road, a 501c3 organization. They are requesting a total of $3,295.60 for maintaining and landscaping improvements on the median of Carolina Forest Boulevard, and that's the east median.
I have a question on that. Golly. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Pass me.
Okay. Question on trees and landscape. We have money somewhere, correct, to buy trees in that area we collected the money in for new construction, right?
Yeah, that's what this. Yes, sir. This program is what we would pull those funds from. The tree mitigation.
So it would be monies already there for exactly what they're asking?
Yes, sir.
And that has come through us every time, or?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have a total of what we have in that account? They can't, let me ask this. Can you use that money in a different area in the county for the same thing, trees?
Yes, it can be used for trees, it can be used for parklands and things like that, and I think that's what we've got.
Well, don't say parks, because we have a parks person here.
We've got a number of opportunities that'll be coming before you. There's a substantial sum of money that comes through that. I don't know, it's not a set number annually, but we've accumulated $1 million or $2 over the last number of years, and most of that is allocated to different projects. Barry seems like he might be on to say something.
The current balance is $20,000.
Okay.
The what about?
$20,000 is the current balance in that account.
That's all?
Well, it is $20,000 because you, as a part of the 2027 budget, approved approximately $1.8 million to buy property with out of that fund, as well as $300,000, I believe, that went to specific park-related improvements.
So we had a big amount.
Yes, we had over $2 million.
20,000.
And we proactively
That's good for
intended
us.
to use that to benefit.
Yeah. Good for us to know, so we know how close we're getting to overdrawn, huh?
Anything further?
No.
All in favor for the resolution?
Aye.
Thank
you,
you.
Ms. Ed. All righty, moving on, a resolution approving allocation of county council community benefit funds. Ms. Ashley Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've got one here this morning. It is for the Friends of the Green Sea Floyd's Library. They're hoping to get some funds to help purchase supplies and equipment to support their community programs that they actually offer. They do quite a bit out there, sewing classes, cooking classes, crafts. They do STEM opportunities for folks too, so they're busy out there. Councilman Horry is the one who asked me to have this on here, and I think he's going to try to get some funds maybe for it. They're seeking $20,000.
Yeah, it's what this is for. The backpack for buddies is not out there, and so they're giving the kids cereal in the mornings. They come by the library and they feed them. They come by at lunch and they give them a sandwich, and then they cook them a chicken sandwich that night. So they're trying to keep the kids fed through the summer when the school's out.
Which is a good thing. So could you add me for $1,000 on it?
And, yes, you do.
3,500.
You have to tell us.
1,000 for District 8.
Put 10 on that for me.
Okay. Ma'am?
I would, but I have 0.
Yeah, I'll vouch. He's spent his money.
That's a very good, program though, and stuff, because we have it around the county, and so those kids are important.
Thank you.
Yeah. And their
You
families.
hear that, Ashley?
Yes, yeah, I got it.
Mikey's going big. Good cause, very good
They
cause.
don't want to see those kids go hungry.
Right.
And I guarantee you it'll be run right.
Good news.
That's good.
All right. All
That's
in
real
favor?
good. Aye.
All right. Okey dokey. Moving right along, a resolution by Horry County Council to designate July as Parks and Recreation Month. Mr. Ray Dunham again.
Yeah, so before you, we have a resolution designating July as Parks and Recreation Month. We've done this the last couple of years, and this is in concert with the National Recreation and Parks Association in their initiative. So ask for your approval on this resolution.
Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We run along. Tom Ross, a resolution amending the planning and zoning fee schedule of the adopted countywide fee schedule.
Good morning. If you recall, at the spring budget retreat, I presented an updated fee schedule. Unfortunately, between the updated fee schedule and the budget, there were some scrivener's errors. And so we're trying to get it corrected to show exactly as we presented in the budget retreat. So what you'll see is we've outlined it in red of the changes that were being made. The biggest, some were actually reducing and some were actually increasing or adding a fee. The biggest one, or the most of the ones that we had, was our inspection fees for zoning for development. We were actually adding that this year, and it didn't make it into. It was presented at spring retreat, but did not make it into the budget. It's not a large sum, but it's starting to try to help out with our costs. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Any question, comment?
Is that high enough? I mean, y'all haven't raised it in a long time in little bits and pieces along, but we never kept up. And you're saying to keep paying the bills, you gotta have the fees proper to offset the, and then you're gonna ask for more help. And,
well, if you do the short-term rental, we will.
Yeah.
But as far as some of the ones that are new, I think the ones that we are actually increasing that we haven't increased in a long time, I think that's adequate for right now. Some of the inspection fee, which is new, I want to see how that works. If anything that we change next year, it might be instead of just doing just one fee for the inspection, we may add it for how many times we have to go out. We're doing that for stormwater because we end up doing, for a project, we could go out there and do 5 inspections. And in fact, we end up being quality control. If that ends up being the case, then we may end up having to keep the same rate, but charge every time we go out.
do you have a schedule showing Horry County, other counties, what their fees are, where we stand in that?
Yes, we do. And in fact,
where do we stand on that?
Where we stand on that right now, we're probably and they're all over the place,
Yeah.
right? Like anything else. Some cases we are a little high. Some cases we're a little low. I think on the average with our fee rate, we're probably right on. I think we're right where we should be in the middle of
the other counties don't have the growth we have.
That is correct.
So we got to offset that. And we're the fastest growing, right?
Oh no, absolutely.
So we got to protect y'all to do a good job. You got to have the fee structure.
And very seldom would I be standing up here trying to talk somebody down from giving me money.
Yeah. Well, I think you got to cover it, or else we're going to be in trouble and not do a good job.
Right. And I believe, as I said, with our fees, our base fee schedule, I think we're in good shape. With the inspection fees, I just want to see how that kind of works because we've never charged for that before.
I keep asking that question about road fees. Where's he at? There he is. He's in the back. We gotta keep up, or we're gonna have to raise taxes if we don't. And we don't want to do that. We never will do that if we can help it. Is my light
Anything
on?
further?
I better turn it off.
Any more questions?
Need a vote.
All in favor of this?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. All righty, moving right along. Item E, resolution accepting the donation of 6 acres of real property in Forest Brook for the creation of our grant in Elizabeth G. Singleton Memorial Park. Mr. Randy Howe.
Yes, in keeping with the apparent Parks and Recreation theme this morning, and I guess in recognition of Parks and Recreation Month, we're going to try to get them a new park. The county was approached by the Singleton family. They offered to donate about 6 acres in Forest Brook for creation of a new park. Would like us to name it after their parents. The county's, we haven't signed a final agreement with them, but we have a framework for something that would be acceptable to both the county and the property owners. It provides some recreation opportunities in the Forest Brook area, some passive recreation. The donor would obviously be entitled to submit for deduction from the IRS using their, the standard form 8283. The county is providing some benefit to the owner because we would be responsible for the infrastructure and the creation of the roads that would connect both to Forest Brook Road and to the adjacent neighborhood. But we submit that for y'all's consideration.
Comments, question?
Well, there goes those 4 guys that keep up all the grass and all the rec and parks. Don't have to have a new person.
I just want to comment on this property and kind of how this took place. Quite some time ago, the Singleton family had contacted me about rezoning some property there at the corner of McCormick Road and Forest Brook Road, where they're building all those houses, which had been approved years, probably 18 years ago. But they wanted to take a piece of that property, bring it into commercial, and I said, well, we might be able to do that. And I know a lot of times people feel the council, they just approve everything and never try to get anything in return. So I said to him, I said, well, you know what, I could really use a park in the Forest Brook area. I said, school's overcrowded, those children have nowhere to go. I said, so how about if you donated about 1.5 acres of land, and I designated an area that we could put a park there. So we talked, and they said, well, what if we potentially maybe did it one step better? And I said, well, can I hold you to your word on that? And they said, well, yes. And I've always known those fellows to be, very forthright, and when they said they're going to do something, they do it. And then they had came back and wanted to meet, and staff and I, we met with them, and they wanted to give us this 6 acres. Now, there were some other stipulations. Obviously, they wanted their family name on it, but it just goes showing a lot of cases. If we barter a little bit, we can get some significant benefits in the Forest Brook area. The children, the people have absolutely nowhere to go. So I want to commend the Singleton family for taking the step, because that was a very valuable property. And granted, we have to do some improvements to build a park there, but it is long overdue. So hopefully it will all work out.
Good job by you, Councilman Massarelli.
Thank you.
Helping out the kids, that's what it's all about. All in favor of this?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, moving along to the ordinances. An ordinance approving and authorizing the county administrator to execute a quick claim deed on behalf of Horry County to release a spoil easement. Mr. Howdy again.
Yes, sir. So in the 1930s, when the federal government created the man-made portions of the Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway, they reserved areas on both sides to place dredge materials. In the early 1980s, the county entered into an agreement with the state and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, which is charged with the maintenance of the waterway, that those easement areas would be released in exchange for the creation of basins where those spoil materials could be dumped rather than just spread out across the surface. So in various areas, basins have been created. When those basins are created, the federal government releases these easements to the county, and then the county can then release them to the underlying property owners. In 1986, County Council adopted a procedure for which these easements can be released to the underlying property owner. In this particular case, the owner is Chris Manning Builders LLC. This property is located near adjacent to Possum Trot Golf Course in North Myrtle Beach, which is right off the end of the runway at Grand Strand Airport. And they are requesting the easement that was released to the county in 2006 to be released back to them, and they've complied with all of the procedures that the council has set forth.
How's the Corps handling the placement of the material and stuff? They continue and stuff to keep it up and stuff to keep the waterway cleaned, or what?
So they haven't undertaken any dredge projects recently. There have been private dredging areas where various marinas have used those basins to dredge out their marina and then place the materials in those basins. The Corps, I understand, is in the process of looking at potentially doing some dredging at the north end, the Little River area, but I'm not aware of any potential dredge projects anywhere to the southern end of the Soxty area.
Curious and stuff with the barges and stuff, and I know there's not as much barge traffic as there used to be and stuff, but it's gonna have to be kept up. Yes, sir.
So every spoilage basin that's along the waterway in Horry County, the property owners that used to own it originally before it was taken from them can get it back?
Well, so the property is still available to be transferred. So whoever the underlying property owner is, they may have an easement that encumbers their property and prevents them from use. The county has adopted a procedure that prevents the construction of vertical construction within easement areas without consent from the Corps. And that's because we were allowing people to build houses in easement areas, and then they weren't able to get title insurance because they had this easement that said that the Corps could come by and dump spoil on their property at any time.
So that easement's always gonna be there?
So we get those, so we entered into that agreement so we can release those larger easements in exchange for digging out these basin areas, which are basically large holes where they can pump that spoil material into it. And so they release the easement areas in the surrounding area. So they've done that here, and the Corps has transferred that easement back to the county, and now the underlying property owner is saying, hey, county, since the Corps doesn't need that anymore, can you release it to us and just get the easement off it completely? So that's what they're requesting.
Is that hard to do? Would we do that on every one of them? If every property owner wanted to do that?
Yes, I mean, we can allow that. It's a rather burdensome procedure. You don't see it very often. In this case, there are multiple lots that Chris Manning Builders has that are encumbered by these easements. So that's his motivation to go ahead and try to get them all released.
So we have a bike park in one of these basins.
Correct, yes, that's right. That's where the bike and run park is located. Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
Any further questions, comments?
So I know y'all recommend approval. I mean, there's no issues whatsoever. I mean, y'all don't see any need, that we should hold on to these places, just.
We're not giving, all we're giving is the easement back to them. So if you think.
I think you said he could build lots.
He can build, yeah, he'll be able to construct it on that, correct?
Inside this spoilage.
Correct, yeah, the easement area has been released because we built a basin in that area.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okey-doke. Moving on to the next one, ordinance approving and authorizing the county administrator to execute a lease agreement with the South Carolina DMV for certain county-owned office space at the Ralph Ellis Complex.
This is just a renewal of the existing lease agreement that DMV has for the Ralph Ellis Complex. It's a standard SC Department of Administration lease. It maintains their standard terms that they maintain for the South Carolina state agencies. We've done a significant adjustment to the rental amount, but otherwise it's the same, and it provides some access to needed services for the residents in that North Myrtle Beach area.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
All righty. Item C, an ordinance amending Chapter 15, Article 6 of the Code of Ordinance, Horry County, South Carolina, as it pertains to development agreement. My friend, Mr. Sam Grace.
Yes, sir. Chairman, members of the council, members of the committee. Development agreements, as you know, are voluntary contracts between a local government and a developer. They're authorized by state law. They establish permitted uses, development standards, infrastructure commitments. development timelines, and other conditions associated with large-scale development. Typically, there's a minimum of 25 acres of highland that is required in order to enter into a development agreement. Proposed amendments to this ordinance would align Horry County's authority to address public health, safety, and welfare concerns through zoning regulations and effective planning practices. This ordinance is the result of efforts by the planning and zoning staff to make this tool more useful to the local developers and a means and a manner that address the need for certainty for developers and for the county to directly address needs of the public, particularly in the areas where the development is proposed. The development agreements are an increasingly important tool for land development and land regulation, and this ordinance will codify improvements which will allow this tool to be more useful as a practical matter. Each agreement will be individually presented to council for their approval at the appropriate times. Historically, Horry County developed its development agreement provisions in 1996 through an ordinance, and the current ordinance, the 1996 ordinance, has remained largely unchanged since its adoption and does not fully reflect current developments and practices and procedures as far as notification standards and processes that we now have. So we've matured in several ways, and this ordinance is designed to recognize those. Included in this is a model. There's the standards that are required for each development agreement, as well as a model development agreement that is would serve the staff in allowing developers to make their applications and present their materials. This item was presented and approved by the Planning Commission on June the 4th of 2026. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
Mark, you got
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think these are very important, but there's one thing, and I've had two in my district, and one thing I'm gonna speak to, I know there's always some things that we may ask in different areas, but our needs are going to be pretty much the same. I think we got to be consistent on our per door number. I've got one that's up here, and 3 miles down the road, we got a number here that I want a part of. And I think we're going down, we better be prepared to answer that question potentially.
Yes, sir.
What's the difference? And we definitely got to be consistent in that number, I think, moving forward.
Yes, sir. And I think we recognize that there's that consistency is required. And these efforts, this isn't knee-jerk right over. They've been working on this for quite a while. They've recognized the need for that, and that's a part of it, which will also be addressed, sir.
anything further?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. All right, moving on to the last one, item D, an ordinance amending Article 11 of the zoning ordinance of Horry County, South Carolina, as it pertains to the zoning board of appeals. Mr. Stevie Brown.
Morning. Thank you, Chairman. This is what you have in front of you here is a proposed change to our existing zoning ordinance sections 1102, 1104, and 1105. And the question here is, should the zoning ordinance be amended to allow the zoning board of appeals to grant variances on the landscape buffer requirements for major developments? And as everybody knows, we're looking at passing an ordinance soon that would make the buffering requirements for major residential developments a lot more than they are today. And one of the things that that we were asked to do along with that is, if we pass these buffers, to put back in the ordinance that they could ask for variances in certain situations on these buffers. Back in 2024, an amendment was made to the zoning ordinance that removed the ZBA's ability to grant those variances related to landscaping and buffering for major developments. And this amendment would give them that ability back. That ability would be governed some as the way it's written now is they wouldn't be allowed to get any type of variance on the front buffer along the corridor. They could not receive more than 50% variance on any other buffer, side or rear. And they would have to have a 2/3 vote for any variance to be granted. So it wouldn't be just an overhaul variance that they could get 100% on whatever they wanted. There would be stipulations within those variances that they would be able to apply for. And that's what this would be doing, is putting that back in the ordinance. Under today's standards, they can't apply for any variance on a major residential development. As
We
far
had
as buffering
issues.
and
Right, so we had issues with the zoning, with the ZBA approving some radical changes and how to say it in a politically correct way, or whatever you want to say. And that was the purpose of council taking that position away from them. And so now we're back and we're fixing to give them back somewhat partial of that. So comments on that?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this whole thing with the buffers is something that, you know, came up. We just wanted to protect the frontage when you're driving down the road and you don't just see all these track houses. So we came up with the idea to, you just put a little buffer up there in the front. Well, it turned into how many pages, Stevie? A bunch.
A lot.
So it's very complicated. It's way over my head. I don't understand half of it. Now we're throwing this caveat in there that really will destroy, you know, the people be buddies would say, hey, you got to help me on this. You got to help me. Like Mr. Chairman said, they just willy-nilly pass everything and let them not do it, and it's just not fair. But the whole thing is now getting to the point where affordable housing is no longer going to be there because we're putting too many rules and regulations on these buffers. So what do you recommend on these? You know, we depend on the staff to understand all this. What if we ask you on this, being able to go through the zoning ordinance and get it a zoning board of appeals, what do you recommend? How's the staff feel?
On the surface, I don't think this ask is a huge ask. I think it does help that they would be allowed to go for a variance in certain situations. But that all depends on the zoning board of appeals and the line that they draw, as far as making it really be making sure that it's a necessary variance. If they, you know, it's going to depend on how they look at each and every one of these. If they give variances on every single one that comes through, then this may not be that good of an idea. But if they draw the line in the sand and make sure that if they give variances on these, there is a hardship or they're not given the variance, then this would work well, I believe. I don't think this is.
Are there guidelines that go with that?
Yes, sir. Well, and some of those guidelines are what I just mentioned there. Even if they get the variance, it would not be able to be more than a 50% variance on any buffer. No variance at all on the front buffer. And they would have to receive a 2/3 vote from the board to receive any variance at all. So even if they did that, they would only be 50%, and 2/3 of the members at that particular meeting would have to vote for that for it to pass. It wouldn't be just a normal majority like every other vote.
They are required to demonstrate a hardship. Hardships are not financial. It has to be some limitation on the geometry of that particular parcel.
Hardship's gonna be we're pricing houses out of the range for affordable.
That's been done.
True.
That's already long past.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was gonna say the same thing.
We're making it worse.
The affordable housing, that's not even a discussion anymore. It's sad to say, but they're not affordable. It's way bigger than anything county council does on impact fees or anything else. It dials down to more, I think, in the profit margins that are being made in today's world out there. If you want to really talk hard about it and tell the real truth that we don't control, they can't get a variance from the frontage, the 100-foot frontage, correct, on the front, just a side variance. And we're not debating the buffer ordinance here, I know, but I think some of the photos that we've looked at, some developments upside some existing homes, I think that would have been some real good stuff to show the problems we have. But and David mentioned it. I mean, again, it's all about hardship. A hardship's not that I need to make $500,000 more because that's kind of where I want to be. A hardships if it just won't work or it will work. But we're not here to, on this variance, to give them, more profit. I mean, that's just not what we're doing.
You
And
can't
we
control those people, though, making that.
Well, we've been down that road before, and that's what happened. Every development we saw, it was to get the rezoning approved, and then we're going straight to ZBA, and we're gonna get a variance from these landscape buffers. And we don't have anything to show for it, and it was done. And I think we've got a better handle on what's going on with this crowd we got now, and they understand it a little bit more. And hopefully we've got down that same path, and if we don't, then we may have to come back to this, revisit it, and scratch it again.
And we did have a ZBA member that was at a lot of the meetings that we had that he felt comfortable with what was being asked at the time and felt that it could be controlled.
But we do need to help them when there's an issue. When they need some help with it, some relief, we do need to have an option for them to get some relief from that.
Mike, you want to say something?
Yeah. If you go back to when this started, this whole buffer ordinance, which is some time now, from where we started at, and you will remember this, we were sitting in INR and we said, well, let's get staff to come up with something. And I said, wait a minute, what is something? Because you know exactly what's going to happen. They're going to come up with something, then all the lobbyists are going to get involved, real estate's going to get involved, the builders, and this thing's going to get whittled down. So what we started out trying to accomplish is going to end up minuscule. And to some degree, that's exactly what's happened. Okay, this has been watered down. So now if we take, and just like you had mentioned, what was it, a year and a half ago, we had to reconstitute the ZBA because they just kept approving everything. All right, people were complaining. Well, at that point, there's nothing we can do. We can't oversee their decisions. And several people on the council complained, how is it that they can override a council's decision? But that's what went on. And what's going to happen here is it's supposed to be a hardship now when they go and ask for these variances, but everybody here knows they constantly were right back to where we were, is this stuff's getting approved and there's no hardship. It just comes down to dollars and cents. And I get it, they're out to make money, but our job is to protect the community and the people around us, the environment, et cetera, et cetera. So what I would move is that this 50% reduction, no reduction can be had less than 20%, because you know as well as I do, they're going to come in every time, they're going to ask for a reduction. And if you see a 10, 15-foot buffer, they're always so straggly, skinny trees, it really doesn't buffer anything. So I would move that nothing can be reduced less than 20 feet on the sides and back, because the idea was to protect these people that already live there. And that's what I would say is let them go to ZBA, but they can't be reduced less than 20 feet.
Well, what would have been the reduction on an existing home buffer coming up to an existing home, the maximum reduction?
Right now, today, a major residential development adjacent to another major residential development is a 15-foot buffer is required. A major residential development next to a single-family home, or it could even be a large tract that's zoned FA, that's a farm field, which is residential, would be a 30-foot buffer required between the two of those on the major residential side. Major residential to commercial is 30 feet. So that would be your buffers. So with what Mr. Mascarelli just said, that would not allow you any variance between major to major, because it's only 15 already. So you couldn't get if you go not less than 20, then you wouldn't be able to get a variance on that at all. It would still give you some relief from major to single family, because that one's 30. And it would give you some relief from major to commercial if you needed it in that case, because that one's also 30. So it would help you in those, would still help in those situations, and you would still keep those buffers. If you use the 50% now that's in there major to major, then that 15-foot buffer obviously would be 7.5. That would be what they would be able to do with the requirement that's going forward for third reading at the next council meeting. and if you applied these variances or the allowed variances to it.
So is your motion to add a line, add a line there that says?
Yes, they can't go below 20 feet.
No buffer shall be reduced to less than 20.
To less than 20 feet, whatever the percentage is, they can't get down. And that small amount of footage is not gonna cost that builder a nickel. They're still gonna build their houses, but it's gonna give to the relief to what this thing was supposed to be in the first place, to protect the communities, quiet living, that type of thing.
So no more than 50% and no less than 20%?
No, 50% as Mr. Brown was saying, can get some of these down to 7.5 feet, 15 feet.
They have to have a minimum of 20.
Yeah, no matter what the reduction is, the relief is 20 feet is the minimum. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
But don't we have some that are 15, making 30, so that kind of.
Yeah, that's two different properties. We're talking about the individual property needs to be.
Yes, that's correct, but that 15 of the developing property, it wouldn't be able to get a variance at all because it's already less than 20.
You got it.
I wish Dennis was here. Dennis has worked really hard on this. He's worked with the community. You know, he's had several meetings, and I think he's done a good job doing what he's done with this. And I think, I'm not saying Mikey's wrong, but I think we just kind of move forward from here, and we need to make an adjustment between here and council. We can. My biggest concern is, again, is the existing home sitting there, and you come in on top of them more so than development. But
why don't we make that change now?
I think we can have that discussion further, because.
Well, that's what we're here for, Mark, to may have that discussion, because what happens, they make these changes, then they come to the council and complain in the district, and what do? We blame it on ZBA. Well, you know, that was ZBA, it wasn't our fault. Well, it was our fault for not fixing it in the first place and putting a harder stance in so the complaints don't come. So yes, I want to make a motion that we not let this be less than 20 feet.
All in favor of that?
Do we have a second yet?
You don't have to have a second in
Yeah.
committee meeting.
I'll be a nay.
I'm gonna vote nay, but I'm not opposed to discussing it further before the next council meeting.
Correct.
All right, then the motion fails, but this is something that probably will and needs to go on to full council to have everybody to have their say in it and stuff, and I hear you and stuff, and I think it's a good
I don't
idea.
disagree with what he's saying.
Yeah. So it can still be amended when it goes to council.
And I think what you need to do, Mike, is get with Dennis, like he was saying, and then y'all discuss, he might agree wholeheartedly, and he's got the feel, you know, Dennis did work hard with all the constituents that came to the meetings.
And who are those constituents, Bill?
All the engineers, architects, land.
Builders, and getting to
plant,
right.
Yeah, but he's taking a hard stand.
Nurseries, yeah, everything. Yeah.
All right, then, so if we just gonna move this on to council then, correct? As it is? All in
For that
favor?
one section.
PC.
It goes back to PC from
Yes,
here?
PC, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, then. We don't need a vote on that, right?
Oh, you do.
We do, okay. All in favor of approving it, sending it on back to PC?
Nay.
Any opposed?
Nay.
One nay. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank y'all.
Good job. Do we have any new old business, Mr. Gilroy?
No, sir.
Anything? Anything from the committee? Anything further from the staff? Everybody's happy on this Wednesday. Congratulations on getting through a primary yesterday. Brag on our voters' offices and stuff, and Miss Sandy Martin, so she catches a lot of heat every 2 years and stuff, but she seems to somehow, you know, pull it out and so with the help of staff, so good job. Anything further? Don't forget about our upcoming meeting, public safety right here shortly in the Rural Civic Center this afternoon at 2 o'clock.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, sir. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.